But in a case like this, where we're missing some of his neck, we can disable the layer mask, go in there with the lasso tool, and just add a little more to our selection here. Oops. Yeah. And that way we can sort of clean up our selection manually if we have only a few problems. We got rid of most of the fuzz floating around here by the different colors near the foot, but we can just chop out the rest of that very quickly. Oops. So then this layer mask is now defunct. Just make another one. And when you have a selection up and you make a layer mask, what is selected is not hidden. So in that same way, let's say we just want his head. You can just select that. Maybe a bit better, but then clicking that just brings this. Alright. There's some pretty good ways to quickly say, I guess layer your effects onto, sort of bring things into a little bit of realism if you sort of mesh things within the drawing. And the best way to do this is to use the blending modes. Blending modes are, I guess, they're algorithms that define when two things are on top of each other, what colors pass through and what don't. And you can, this is a little too clear, it's hiding. But let's say in this case we have these runners and they're going to be running through this landscape. We're doing a rendering, so they're all going to be a little bit transparent and suggestive of future runners. So we'll drop a mask in, pull up the brush, get our brush to a good size, and quickly start wiping out these buildings that we are uninterested in. We just want the runners. Yeah. And the problem is, it still looks like a kind of separate piece with this roadway back here, and that's something we can get through a little bit more adjustment. But if we're trying to do this quickly, we can hit up the blending modes and go through them to find something where the runners stand out a little bit better, but you get the the grass textures still in there. And then because we've now layered them, it appears that the different parts of, say, the image are on top of each other. And instead of having to cut out every grass blade, we get a little bit, I guess we can suggest it more simply. And then, our work is a lot simpler. We just have to get rid of a little bit. Maybe someone is too pale. And it's just fast. In the same way, if we need to drop out an entire skyline like this, we can just roll down through these to somewhere where, like, dark and whites are almost entirely knocked out of the image. Multiply, which knocks all whites out of the image by definition. Get rid of some, or, excuse me. Now, if there's too much black here, we can pull up the levels with Control L, heading off to the side there. And as we increase the amount of white in this image, or the sort of the midpoint of the image, we blend it into the background a little better. We can trim it here at the horizon. And it needs a little brushing on the side here. But now we have a city somewhere in the distance. And it even looks like there's a haze from the sky coming on off of it. When you have your sort of ultra white rendering right out of Rhino, and you need to bring it into the landscape a little. Okay. Where are you? I'm sorry, I don't know where that went. You can put things on this, like reflections from other layers. So we'll copy the background, bring it up here, drop this down a lot, sort of adjust it to where we like it on our building, and select our building by holding Control and clicking on its portrait, and cutting that out of our landscape.
How do you do that?
So if you hold Control and click on a portrait, it cuts out the shape. And if you click on the mask, it will select your mask. And if you hold Shift while you do it, you'll select multiple ones. Or if you hold Alt, then you'll unselect ones. So you can get strange selections that way. And then you can Control D is deselect.
Is that?
Control Memo. Yeah, I guess the most useful things. What is wrong with this nose? The most useful things to me are really the free transform, which gets used just constantly because you can change perspectives. And I don't know what's going on there.
Is there a good place you go to for these material pattern selections? Yeah.
Flickr. If you search something texture, you'll get a ton of just straight photos people took of walls or forests and leaves and anything. A lot of I know that there's a lot of stuff on Flickr that like basically they have fairly small images, but if you've got it in a rendering and you're tiling it or you're using it as a pet pattern or texture, no one's going to be able to tell. And you're adjusting it enough that you're not really breaking any copyright law either. It's my experience that even professional firms just take any image they want. Oh, maybe this is on video. I guess the last biggest challenge that you'll run into regularly with Photoshop is cutting out people in like groups and crowds. And basically let's say we want to make some really exciting palace of fun and we just can't wait to put 1 million people into our rendering. So let's clear up some stuff. So we've got enough stuff to work with. Let's say we just got some old European city and we've got these buskers. And we want to duplicate this crowd a bunch. So first thing, we're going to drop in our layer mask, pull out our polygon lasso, start generally cutting at the right level in there. And in a crowd, as long as you see a lot of faces, it looks like it's a huge crowd. So then drop that out. And
So with all these selections, you're not deleting anything. You're just making it transparent, basically.
yeah, I'm not deleting anything because I guess I just want to like make sure that when I have to blow this up and realize like, oh, that guy's head is missing, I just go back into this, get the erase, and I can bring back his hair. And that way, sort of, you can lay out an image before you begin to go in there and really refine everything. And a lot of the refinement is really just tedious, having to paint things out. And I guess the speed of Photoshop is really being able to lay things out and not destroy them. Okay, let's say put this here, and well, there's kind of an edge there, so we'll just cut out some